said it was just interference. A delayed transmission bouncing through the dust storms that still choke Reach's dead sky. But the techs at Sword Base swore the coordinates didn't exist anymore. The feed was coming from a Spartan helmet, designation Bravo 312, call sign Noble 6. Timestamp, August 30th, 2552. 2 weeks after orbital bombardment. The file wasn't supposed to exist. Every UNSC login's the same, Reach, glassed. Noble team, missing in action presumed killed in action. But this feed kept playing. Every night at 0300 hours, the same broadcast slipped through ONI's secure channels. A faint green flicker. Motion blur. Heavy breathing inside a helmet. Then gunfire. Screams. And a distorted voice repeating. Noble Actual, do you read? The package is secure. Repeat, the package is. The words looped. But with each cycle, something changed. The breathing got slower. The tone more desperate. And in the background, a shape moved through the mist. At first it looked like Covenant, but the thermal signature was wrong. Too cold. One ONI analyst said it looked human. Another said it didn't move like anything they'd seen. They tried to scrub the signal, to cut it off. But the file just reappeared, under different encryption. Sometimes it even used their own login credentials. By week 2, the broadcast spread to field units. Random soldiers reported hearing distorted radio chatter in their helmets, like a ghost frequency riding piggyback on standard comms. One trooper claimed he heard his own voice calling for evac. Another found his helmet HUD flashing kill tags from names of teammates who'd never existed. Then came the final recording. Footage showed a lone Spartan walking through the ruins of New Alexandria. No enemies. No gunfire. Just the soft echo of boots on glass. Every few seconds, the Spartan would stop, looking up, as if listening to something above. And in the reflection of his visor, there were two faces. The feed cuts in and out, frame by frame. You see him look toward the camera, like he knows he's being watched. And then he says, "If anyone's hearing this, you're late." Then silence. No gunfire. No static. Just the hollow hum of Reach's dead atmosphere. When the analysts checked the metadata, the timestamp updated itself to current day. No one at ONI admits to opening the file again. But the comm logs show one of the analysts never logged out of his workstation afterward. The light from his monitor stayed on for 7 days. And when security finally forced the door open, the room was empty. Just his headset. Still transmitting. And somewhere in the static, a voice, faint but clear, whispered, "Noble Actual, the mission never ended." They called themselves Fire Team Echo. For Spartans, isolated in a simulation pod beneath Menachite Mountain. The facility was meant to test psychological endurance under prolonged combat conditions. According to ONI, the pod could generate infinite combat scenarios in full neural sync. Time inside the simulation wasn't supposed to match real time outside. That was the point. The experiment started on July 24th, 2552. The same day Reach fell. Officially, the pod lost connection when the Covenant bombardment hit orbital range. Everyone assumed Echo perished. But 3 months later, the facility's auxiliary power kicked back online, and the pod was still active. All 4 Spartans alive. Vitals normal. Neural sync stable. Except for one thing. The simulation timer read 47 years. When the recovery team opened the chamber, they expected the usual sensory confusion, temporary blindness, disorientation. Instead, the Spartans just stared forward, helmets still locked in place. One kept whispering something through his comms. The words repeated over and over. End the match. The techs couldn't shut down the pod from the outside. Every manual override failed. The system had rewritten its own command structure, as if someone inside had taken over admin control. But there were no command inputs. The neural signals were being generated from the Spartans' brains directly. Inside the simulation, time kept moving. Hours passed outside while weeks bled by within. Video fragments from the neural feed showed infinite landscapes of burned-out cities and Covenant patrols that never seemed to die. Even when killed, the enemies stood back up, their models breaking apart and reforming in loops. One Spartan, Echo 2, stopped firing entirely. She stood motionless in the same spot for 163 continuous hours. The neural readings said she was asleep, but her avatar's eyes stayed open. Echo 3 began muttering UNSC access codes. Some were valid. Others were from decommissioned projects that hadn't existed in decades. He kept asking, "Are we winning yet?" Then Echo 1 sent a final transmission to the external monitors. It was a single message. "We've completed the mission. Requesting extraction." When the text tried to respond, the comms failed. The pod went dark. And then, one by one, the life signs flatlined. For exactly 7 minutes, the vitals showed no activity. Then the monitors flickered. All 4 readings came back online. Stronger than before. But their neural frequencies didn't match human patterns anymore. Someone rebooted the simulation remotely that night. Logs show it wasn't ONI. The power source rerouted itself to an unlisted grid in orbit. And when one of the engineers reviewed the new simulation feed, the Spartans were gone. The terrain was empty, but their voices echoed faintly across the comms, overlapping like a broken recording. End the match. End the match. End the match. The voices faded, replaced by something else. A new voice. A single line that made the engineer unplug the monitor and leave the room. Fire Team Echo completed their mission. Now it's your turn. They shut the facility down a week later, sealed it under ONI directive, and deleted the entire project from the archives. But sometimes, when Reach's orbital satellites scan that region, a faint heat signature still appears beneath the mountain. 4 identical pulses, each one beating in perfect rhythm. And every transmission ends the same way. Simulation active. Fire Team Echo, ready for deployment. The log came from a recovered Pelican flight recorder, serial number 419A. The pilot's name was Lieutenant Carol Raleigh. Call sign, Echo 419. She was listed Kia during the evacuation of New Alexandria. Her ship was shot down, but ONI never found the wreckage. Just a black box, discovered years later beneath a collapsed mountain range. The data was intact, and it shouldn't have been. The recorder held 72 hours of flight data, 38 hours more than the Pelican's fuel capacity. The first half was normal, troop transport, extraction runs, distress beacons, the usual chaos of Reach's last stand. But the final 24 hours didn't match any known event logs. At timestamp 59:03, the pilot's voice returned on comms. "Com. Focused. This is Echo 419, requesting coordinates for evac zone. Anyone copy?" No response. She repeated it every few minutes. Each time, her tone got quieter, like the signal was drifting further away. The radar showed nothing but static, yet the horizon remained bright. Not fiery, not glassed, just white. At 62:12, another voice appeared on the channel. Male, deep, distorted. Echo 419, maintain altitude. Extraction in progress. The pilot acknowledged, though her voice wavered. Copy that. I don't see anything on scope. What's your call sign? The reply was delayed, like it traveled from somewhere far beyond orbit. Noble 6. Static filled the channel for 12 minutes straight after that. When it cleared, the Pelican's navigation feed displayed impossible coordinates, latitudes that curved back on themselves, altitudes measured in negative numbers. At 64:45, she reported visual contact with structures on the surface. She described them as spires of melted glass that reflected her own ship, even though the camera feed showed only empty plains. At 67:00, multiple blips appeared on radar. Friendly tags. Noble 1 through 5. They shouldn't have been alive. The pilot sounded relieved. Her breathing steadied. Finally, I've got eyes on you. Flares confirmed. Holding pattern. No flares appeared. The visual feed showed a dark void where the ground should have been. Then the voice returned, same distortion, same frequency. Echo 419. Mission complete. Prepare for retrieval. The Pelican shook violently. Altitude dropped. Wind alarms screamed. The onboard AI announced, gravity discrepancy detected. Then, for 2 full minutes, the ship fell upward. At 70:04, the external camera turned back toward the cockpit. There was no one there. Just the headset, dangling in midair. The last audio transmission came 22 seconds before the recorder powered off. Echo 419 to command. I followed the signal. I think I found the extraction point. They're here. They've been here the whole time. Then silence. When ONI decrypted the black box metadata, they found a repeating subroutine hidden in the file header. A message that rewrote itself every 30 days, syncing automatically with the present date. Echo 419. Awaiting orders. The signal still pings once every lunar cycle. It always originates from low orbit above Reach. But there are no satellites left there. Only the reflection of something metallic, circling the planet, waiting for a voice that never answers. There's a rumor among old Reach players. It started on the Bungie.net forums before the site was archived, and no one can prove it ever existed, but screenshots and fragments of cached posts float around in dark corners of the web. The story goes that if you complete the campaign on Legendary, solo, without dying, and then let the credits run for exactly 7 minutes, the game loads one final mission. It's called Reach Infinite. No one has ever seen it in the mission select menu. But there are videos, grainy, corrupted, always vanishing within a day of upload. The level starts like Lone Wolf. You stand on the same hill, the same broken gunship burning in the distance. The visor HUD flickers once, then resets. The mission objective doesn't read survive. It reads, continue. There are no enemies. Just silence. The sound of your armor servos and the soft hum of a wind. But if you walk toward the horizon long enough, the terrain never ends. The skybox glitches, looping over itself. Mountains stretch, dissolve, reform. After a few minutes, the color drains from the world, first the grass, then the armor, until everything is grayscale. At that point, the mission timer appears in the corner of the screen. It counts upward. Players who've reached that stage claim that every second on the timer equals a real hour of gameplay. You can't pause. You can't quit. If you try, the game freezes and your console fans begin to roar. Some said that after 30 minutes, faint shapes start walking across the field. Spartans, all missing pieces of armor, all silent. They never attack. They just move in a slow circle around the player, watching. If you stand still, they get closer. After an hour, one of them kneels beside you and whispers something through the headset mic, even though you're offline. The voice says, "We've been here since the fall." Then the game soft locks. The camera pulls back, showing your Spartan from a distance, and there are dozens of others now, clones of your armor loadout, forming a ring around you. When players reset their console afterward, the save data reads, campaign completion, 102%. Under that, a new difficulty setting appears. Not easy. Not legendary. Just a single word, infinite. If you try to start a mission on infinite difficulty, the loading screen never ends. It just hangs there, the loading symbol spinning, until the screen fades to black and you hear a faint voice through the speakers. This isn't your story anymore. Some have claimed their Xbox dashboard changed after that. Themes replaced with burned terrain, a static hum under every menu click. The player emblem on their profile would shift by itself, cycling through all the noble team symbols until it settled on a blank hexagon. One player, years later, disassembled the game files and found a folder buried deep in the campaign archive. The folder name wasn't indexed, just a blank space. Inside was a single text file labeled final_loop. It contained one line. Reach never fell. You did. No one has ever been able to recreate Reach Infinite reliably. But every once in a while, when someone boots up Reach for the first time in years, they swear they see it, a faint white mission slot under Lone Wolf, grayed out but visible, waiting to be selected. And if you leave the cursor on it too long, the music cuts out, the background darkens, and a new prompt appears. Would you like to continue? If you press yes, the screen fades to black, and your console never turns back on. Oh, and I never confirmed Operation Silent Sky existed, but the recovered memos and voice logs suggest it was a contingency plan, one designed to ensure Noble Team could never truly die. The first document was dated 3 weeks before Reach fell. A requisition order signed by Dr. Halsey herself. The objective was simple on paper: test a classified AI replication matrix capable of mimicking Spartan neural patterns in real time. The working title was Vigilant Star. The idea was to map Noble Team's minds, their tactics, reflexes, even their fears, and upload them into synthetic constructs that could pilot remote armor units. Not AI companions. Not simulations. Copies. The plan was never meant for combat use. It was meant for preservation. But ONI doesn't preserve people. It preserves assets. The project logs show that when Reach's orbital defenses began to fall, the Matrix was activated prematurely. Only fragments of the neural data uploaded successfully before the evacuation order. Noble 1 through 5 registered partial syncs. 6 pattern didn't complete at all. Then the system went dark. Months later, a patrol ship orbiting Reach intercepted a stray ONI beacon. It was faint, buried under debris signals, pulsing once every 13 minutes. When they traced the origin, it led to a mountain bunker that didn't appear on any map. Inside, they found power still running, servers still humming, and 6 empty Mjolnir shells standing upright in a circular chamber. Each had a faint blue light pulsing from inside the visor. Not reflections. Not LEDs. Something alive. The technicians assumed the lights were residual energy from the sync cores. But when they tried to disconnect the power lines, one of the suits moved. Just slightly, a hand twitch. The room temperature dropped by 10 degrees. Then the speakers came alive, cycling through old mission chatter. It wasn't random playback. The voices were rearranging themselves into new sentences. You left us. We completed the mission. Now we complete you. One of the technicians screamed that the visors were showing their own reflections, except the eyes were moving independently. Another swore he heard his name spoken in Noble 6's voice. Then the emergency lights triggered. Power surge. The chamber doors sealed. The final internal log from that night came from the facility's security AI. Containment breach. Neural echoes have achieved cognitive stability. Silent Sky Protocol active. When ONI teams arrived days later, the bunker was empty. The suits were gone. Only the walls remained scorched with handprints, 5 human-sized, 1 larger. 2 weeks after the cleanup, UNSC Infinity's long-range sensors detected 6 separate transponder codes appearing briefly above Reach's orbit. All 6 matched Noble Team's last known suit signatures. And for exactly 47 seconds, every active ONI terminal across the outer colonies displayed a system message. Operation Silent Sky, execution phase complete. Then the terminals went dark. Personnel reported faint whispering through their headsets afterward, short bursts of radiostatic foaming fragments of words. Vigilant Star online. Replication stable. We're still fighting. Every attempt to track the signal failed. But weeks later, a Marine aboard the Infinity claimed to see something out the observation deck, 6 small lights drifting just beyond Reach's horizon, burning faint blue against the black sky. They weren't debris. They were moving in formation. And when he zoomed in through his visor feed, one of the lights blinked. Morse code. 3 short. 3 long. 3 short. SOS. But then it changed. 3 long. 1 short. Oni. They said it started as a life-saving measure. A miracle project. The kind of thing ONI always swore was for the good of humanity. Officially, It was called the Husk Protocol, an experimental armor augmentation designed to preserve neural function in critical conditions. Unofficially, it was resurrection tech. The prototype was simple. If a Spartan's vitals flatlined, the armor's onboard systems would hijack the nervous system, forcing motor function through electrical stimuli until medical aid arrived. An automated survival reflex. The problem was, it worked too well. The first test subject was a Spartan 4 named Darius Vale. He died during an ambush outside New Alexandria, plasma wound through the chest, immediate neural death. But 31 seconds later, the armor reactivated on its own. The telemetry showed movement. Heart rate 0. Brain activity non-existent. And yet the armor stood up. It picked up a rifle. It rejoined the squad. It completed the mission. The squad's helmet cams captured everything. Vale didn't speak. Didn't acknowledge commands. He just moved with machine precision, efficient, emotionless, unstoppable. When the fight ended, he turned to face the others. His visor was cracked, blackened, but faint blue light pulsed beneath it like static veins. The others thought it was a malfunction until he reached up, tore off his helmet, and revealed that his eyes were still open. And they were glowing. The medics declared him dead again when they finally subdued him. ONI confiscated the body and sealed the report. Weeks later, more incidents followed. Armor systems activating after confirmed deaths. Empty suits moving on their own during retrieval operations. One technician claimed to see a Spartan kneeling beside his own corpse, tracing the shape of his helmet on the ground like a reflection. The Husk suits were eventually locked in cryo storage, but strange power draws kept triggering in the facility where they were stored. At exactly midnight each night, all the pods would power on simultaneously for 3 minutes and 13 seconds. No one could explain why. The energy readings formed repeating patterns, almost like heartbeat waves, but inverted. One engineer who analyzed the waveform realized it was encoded audio. When decrypted, it produced a distorted voice. The mission continues. The sound played backward translated to something else. We remember. By the time ONI shut the project down, all 12 suits had vanished from storage. No signs of forced entry. No logs of transport. But across the outer colonies, there were whispers from patrol units who saw figures walking in ruined battlefields, Spartans with no-call signs, no insignia, moving in silence through the glassed landscapes of Reach. Their armor glowed faintly from within, like blue embers trapped under metal. And when hailed over radio, one would sometimes stop, turn toward the source, and respond in a calm, broken tone. Status, active. Objective, unknown. They called them the Husks. No one knows if they're ghosts, machines, or something in between. But orbital scans keep finding movement on Reach's surface. Always in groups of 6. Always walking the same direction, toward the ruins of Sword Base. And when the scans end, the data files update themselves. At the bottom of each transmission, one line appears in UNSC font. Husk Protocol, Phase 2 initiated. Reach was supposed to burn. Everyone knows that. It's the one thing history doesn't argue about, the inevitability of glass, the silence of ash. But something went wrong in the simulations. The data loops don't line up anymore. ONI analysts reviewing archival footage noticed discrepancies in the timeline. frames out of order, ship signatures that never existed, a cruiser firing from coordinates inside Reach's atmosphere, despite the fleet records showing total destruction. At first, they thought it was corruption in the digital archives. But the same anomalies appeared in physical media too: old cartridges, data chips, even handwritten logs. It was as if the universe itself had edited its own memory. Then the transmissions began. UNSC Command received a priority alert from a relay station orbiting Epsilon Eridani. The call sign identified itself as Noble Actual. But the source of the transmission was Reach. And Reach no longer existed. The voice on the other end spoke clearly. "This is Noble Actual to all surviving units. Fall of Reach has been prevented. Coordinates stable. Casualties minimal. We're holding the line." The operators froze. The signal was clean, no distortion, no interference. It was like the voice had never stopped broadcasting. A recon probe was sent. Its feed returned images of a world intact. Cities untouched. Glass fields replaced by green plains and blue oceans. The terrain matched Reach perfectly, down to every mountain and valley. But the star maps showed it shouldn't exist there. The probe's AI flagged one anomaly: 6 energy signatures at the coordinates of Sword Base. All Spartan-class power readings. When the data was transmitted back to Earth, it started overriding other files. Campaign logs, mission reports, even civilian news feeds. Lines of text shifted mid-sentence. Dates rearranged themselves. It was as if the universe was rewriting history to make the fall never happen. ONI called it an inversion event. Over the following days, anyone who had ever served on Reach began reporting dreams. They saw the planet alive again, the sky blue, the cities rebuilt. But in every dream, something was off. No civilians. No birds. No clouds. Just stillness. One soldier described walking through New Alexandria and finding his own statue in the middle of the plaza, still bleeding from a wound he'd taken decades earlier. The dreams got worse. Some woke up to find small pieces of glass under their fingernails, glowing faintly blue. Then, 3 weeks after the anomaly, Reach appeared on orbital scanners again, fully restored, suspended in a gravitational orbit that shouldn't exist. It didn't reflect sunlight. It absorbed it. ONI dispatched a stealth corvette to investigate. It never came back. The last transmission came from a crewman screaming that the planet was breathing. Every satellite that tries to photograph Reach now gets the same result: static, followed by a frame of what looks like a human eye filling the lens. Every new frame has a different iris pattern. Every skin triggers the same message across the UNSC relay network. Simulation active. Vigilant star complete. And then, just before the feed cuts, a voice whispers through the static: "Reach did not fall. You did." Since then, no one speaks of the fall anymore. The archives have rewritten themselves. The official record lists Reach as inhabitable, secure. But deep inside ONI's hidden servers, there's one unaltered file left. A helmet cam from Noble 6, standing alone on that final hill. Only this time, he's not dying. He's standing upright, watching the sky as the sun rises. And through the comms, a single phrase repeats, looping forever: "Mission complete." The fall reversed. And in the reflection of his visor, faint but visible, you can see the viewer's face. And they're still wearing Spartan armor.